Just make sure we got a good screen, and we do. Excellent. Check, check. Voila. Hopefully I'm heard. Let's double check. Showing up on both that I am heard. Let's go out here to the Facebook, the live stream, and then we'll get started. All right, here we go. Just make sure we got everything set, and we do. All right, guys, here we are in the Health, Wealth, and Happiness Monthly Mastery, and today we're going to dive deep on keeping perspective, going over a lot of things for you that I try to do on a weekly basis, although in the last month it's been a little difficult as we've gone through evacuation. Some of you have probably heard that Hurricane Irma came through and literally right over where I live. Luckily, we had evacuated a few days earlier and didn't have to worry about that. So we got to watch it from remote. Didn't have to worry about the actual storm coming through, but it worked out real well that we were able to get out, just go up, visit family in Atlanta, and have some fun there. So today, it's all about health, wealth, and happiness mastery. So the way I like to work these trainings every month is to have a part where we keep perspective. Kind of like a lot of people, they go to church every week to keep perspective. A lot of people every day have rituals or habits or behaviors that keep perspective on things. And our job as we work together through our journey in life and business mastery is to assure we're keeping perspective on the needle movers for keeping that, as we talk about high performance, that fully charged life filled with connection, joy, and confidence. So to get started today, I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us and making sure that you're taken care of. If there's anything I can do to support you, and you're at the bit.ly/monthly health link where we're live casting, comment below if this is in a recording for you in our mastery community, in our programs that go through. Just ask the questions, because no matter where you ask, I'm going to answer them. Usually I'll either reply to them via text, like respond via computer, or make a video for it, or we'll talk about it in our awesome Zoom monthly roundtable, which we'll be doing later on today, and that'll also be recorded too. So even if you have questions you're not going to be able to make the event, feel free to ask below. Just ask, because we're going to be answering those, and I take every question very seriously and be working through those together. With that all being said, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So if you have it, go ahead and get it out. And that would be the Wheel of Perspective. If you don't, I got links to you on the live cast page, and in the program I'll have those as downloads for you. The Wheel of Perspective, and it looks like this guy right here. You can see that. The Wheel of Perspective, and then also the Life Assessment. And if you don't have them, that's okay too. The Life Assessment, both of those are linked or downloadable for you in the program or on the live cast page. Those are the very elements that we want to make sure we're owning from the perspective of keeping ourselves in that heightened state of health, wealth, and happiness. Does that make sense? So that being framed, let's go ahead and jump in, shall we? Very first thing we're going to cover, and I'm going to be ranking these for me, so if that seems a little awkward, it shouldn't, because I really fell off alignment with some of these things in the last couple weeks, just because of the sheer amount of evacuate, do all that stuff, and then come back and just try to get caught up. There's just things that I didn't prioritize properly. I'm going to be open and honest with you so that you can grow too, and I hope that helps, and I hope that serves. So let's go ahead and start with the 7 areas, and these are on the life assessment. So I'm just going to read through these, and what I would love for you to do is think through 1 to 10, rating yourself. 1, I don't agree with them at all. 10, I agree with them completely. The statement as I read it. And I'm going to tell you mine. I'm going to actually got little marks right here. I don't know if you can see that. I got marks right here to write my numbers in. Cool? All right. So the very first statement we're going to keep perspective with. Now, I am where I thought I'd be at this point in my life. Overall, I'm living into the best version of myself for me, those I love and care about, and the world. So whatever that is for you, write that in. 1, yeah, don't agree with that at all. I'm not where I thought I'd be. I don't even know where I thought I'd be. 10, I'm there, and I'm owning life, and I'm owning that best version of me for myself, those I love and care for, and the world. So for me, I feel like we got way backtracked just because of Hurricane Irma, but wow, that was loud. But I get to go through and kind of make the reality that we had a lot of friend and family experiences during that time. And so it kind of equated to, I upped my family level, down my mission and career a little bit in terms of the life arenas. So I'm going to give myself an 8 there, an 8 for now. And whatever that is for you, if it's below an 8, go through and think about one thing you can do to level that up a little bit. Cool? Just one thing in the next week or in the next month. Whatever that is for you, that's totally cool. I don't want you to beat yourself up over this. Just be real with where you're at and taking it to the next level. Next one, my best self. Overall, I feel healthy, happy, energized. My levels are consistent throughout the day. I even sustain into the evenings until I start to wind down for bed. So what we're getting at here is this idea of you're living into your best self energetically, with focus, with productivity if you want, and that you have a sustained level of energy throughout the day, even near the end of the day. That's usually the tricky part. So I hope that helps. My rating there, yeah, I'm going to give myself probably a 7 here. And I want to be open and honest with you. This last week's just thrown me for a loop. I've been really trying to prepare for these presentations and just catch up with a lot of meetings, and sleep's been dipped a little bit. So my job as a 7 to an 8 is to just get back on track. Keep those sleep habits, keep hydrated, keep eating healthy, and really make sure I'm exercising. And that's one part we'll see in the wheel of perspective that's fallen off for me a little bit. So I'm going to be open and honest with you, but whatever it is for you, just think about, like we talked about, one thing to level that up. 3, my relationships. Here's the statement. I work diligently to create, build, and maintain great relationships with those around me. I feel I'm a good role model for my loved ones and those close to me and the world. I consistently listen well, show compassion for myself and others, and communicate my thoughts and feelings. This one I feel like I'm at a 9 because I've really worked diligently, no matter the circumstance, to keep good communication. Well, presence, not maybe full in the last couple of weeks, but is pretty full, and really got and made sure this was priority for me. And I was talking about this in our group coaching call earlier this week, and also in some of my training, is that the people closest to us are the ones we tend to take for granted. So we got to make sure we're living into the very best of us, no matter the circumstance, but keep that in mind. So, relationships. Next, stress, overwhelm, and clarity. Here's the statement we're going to keep perspective with. I have great stress management practices in my life. When I do get stressed, I know exactly what to do to reduce or remove it from my life. I typically do not feel overwhelmed or distracted because I have clarity of who I am and what I should be doing every day. That's a hefty one, isn't it? It's a beefy one. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit here, about 4 steps to reduce or remove stress, and I think you'll really enjoy that. But the concept is right now how you're feeling about how you've done. Maybe in the last week or the last month, as we try to keep perspective on this. And so with that, there's a lot of stress showing up with the evacuation and so forth, and just getting back on track and everything. And I kept my practices. I feel like I own them. I'm going to give myself a 9+ there. Even in light of a lot of the things that hit, I was on it. And it was really kind of crazy because we were thinking about the drive back and how much traffic there could be from Atlanta to where we live. It's about a 10-hour drive if you're under normal driving circumstances. For some, taking that drive as they evacuated, that was like a 18, 20-hour drive. And I was like, oh, man. And I did it the day before I had work to do. Usually I give myself a day cushion, but I owned it. Really stepped into it. I even made the drive enjoyable, which is a tricky one when you're just kind of in the mindset of, oh my gosh, what do I got to catch up on? So whatever that is for you, be real with it. Own it. Think about, what could I have done better in the last few weeks? Like if you were able to replay that part of your life and say, what would the best version of me have done if I could replay that? It's usually a good place to start. And as you go into the future, just remember that and try to apply it. The application is key. A lot of people set great intention, they don't take action. Really important that we take action, especially when we're talking from the high performance perspective, which is a lot of where this comes from, the world of high performance, living to our best self always, but always up leveling too. So relationships and stress. Next one is my career mission. The work I do in the work world is meaningful to me. I believe I'm consistent about living in alignment with what the best use of me, my passions and talents are. I'm going to give myself a 10 there. Never in my life have I ever felt that I've been more focused and in alignment and taking action on what I'm supposed to be doing. Being here with you on this Saturday. You know, it's a beautiful Saturday out there. So looking forward to celebrating tonight. But in the meantime, I am fully engaged with you, really helping to hope you're feeling the growth, the forward motion in your life and later on in your business when we do our business mastery piece. So whatever that is for you, put your score down. 1, don't agree with that statement at all. 10, I agree with it very much. And wherever that sits, below an 8, think about one thing that you could do to up level. Cool? Excellent. Next is my hobbies and passions. I know and understand the importance of having hobbies to help me continually connect with my creative and self-expressive side. I'm consistent about nurturing my hobbies and passions. And let me tell you, that one is probably going to be a 6 for me because I haven't gotten my guitar out in the last week. Or my guitars. I have a couple of them right off camera here in my studio. And the other thing, haven't played a bunch of video games. Haven't gone for the walks that I do to connect with nature. And that's a big part of my being. Part of that reason is the big park that's by my home studio is closed because of the damage from the hurricane. They're hoping to reopen in a week or 2. So this stuff's kind of... So I know going into next week, I got to bring those back online and own them. So whatever it is for you, and maybe you don't have hobbies. Maybe it's just passions. Some people that I've talked with, for them, it's playing card games. Others, Scrabble. Some, watching movies. Whatever that is, what's something you need to do this week? Oh, a couple others is read. So that's a big part of this too. What books have you just kind of paused on that you want to get back open and read some more? Whatever that is, note it. You know, the challenge as we go through these 7 areas is to have 7 things we can do, 1 in each, to up level, and then just pick one of them. You don't have to do all 7. Just pick one of them and say, that's what I'm going to work on next week. That's an easy challenge, yeah? Awesome. And then next up is my life's ambitions. And this is the big arc of everything we're trying to accomplish. So if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't have any regrets. I lived a life where I paid attention to and taken action on my life's ambitions. At least once a year, I reevaluate my life's ambitions and schedule time for them. So how are you doing there? Most people, they're like, what? Once a year? I don't even think about it at all. I just know that I want to do some stuff. Whether I get to it or not, whatever. So what we're trying to accomplish here is really own this piece. Cool? So what is that for you? Now for me, that's about a 9. I know I've got a couple other things that I really want to get in alignment so that I can have a little more personal freedom. And I'll be talking about that in our Zoom call a little bit today, but also in Business Mastery in our next session that starts in about 2 hours. Well, hour and 45 minutes. And really kind of going after what is it that I'm trying to hone in on to be able to serve with even greater degree of depth with less distraction. Does that all make sense? So cool. So those are the 7 areas, and those are my scores. And whatever they are for you, cool. Now keep in mind, I've been working on these areas for 5 years. So these scores are pretty high. Even the 6 in my hobbies and passions is high. Because I got to tell you, when I started, it was a real hodgepodge. These would have been probably 5 points lower each. So if they're 5 points lower for you, that's totally cool. All right, let's switch gears into the 10 needle movers, which are essentially the 10 areas in the Wheel of Perspective. If you don't have it, I've linked to it below on our live cast page, and it's also in our program. You'll see it as a download. And it's just basically a circle, and you give yourself a score 0 to 10 in these crucial areas so you can feel healthy, wealthy, not only in the finance piece, but in life, and happy too. So we're going to kind of whip through these. We've done this before, and I just want to make sure we have enough time for the training and everything else for us today. So first one, sleep, 0 to 10. I've been sleeping soundly 7 to 9 hours a night. And that could be for you for the last month, or the last week. Whatever it is, know that range and give yourself a rate. And for me, that's been about a 7. It's been tricky because I've had so much to do that I've been going to bed a little later than usual, and then getting up, 5:36. So I'm feeling it middle of this last week. So I know it. I know exactly what I got to do to level that up. I'm on it. Trust me. Second is hydration. I've been consciously drinking water daily. So I got my double barrels here of these insulated cooler water containers, and I'm gonna have a drink right now actually. But I give myself for that. I've been having these with me wherever I go. Probably a 9 for the last week. And real important, I learned something early on, and this may be hold true for you. If I have water in front of me, I'll drink it. If I don't, I forget it. Just kind of like, hey, it's not around. So what are you doing to make sure you're hydrated throughout the day? Do you have water with you at all times? A lot of people that I know who are high performers, they have that, and they carry it around, and it's just a habit they've built. So I give myself a 9 there. Next is eating. Excuse me. I've been eating 80% nutrient-rich food. Now, these are the greens. These are the colors, not Skittles. I always talk about that in my trainings. Not like eating more Skittles, but eating from the rainbow. How you been doing there? 80% of the time, nutrient-rich. The beige foods, like breads and carbs and potatoes and those kind of things, maybe down a little bit. What is that for you? And so I'm going to give myself a 7 there, only because when we were evacuated, there was a couple issues with what was going on as we were in some really nice places. And I always feel like I never want to starve myself from something delicious that can only be had in a specific experience. Does that make sense? So, for example, we were at a farmer's market at Piedmont Park in Atlanta, and they had this barbecue, and they know how to do barbecue. So I was having some of that with some bread, and I knew this was off course for me, because it's 90% nutrient-rich a week, so this was an extra sort of bonus. And I was okay with it. I'm like, I'm going to live into this life experience. The trick is, and I hope you get this, it's the exception to the rule. It's not the rule. And I just dial it in and I know what I got to do to accommodate. Cool. I hope that helps. These little distinctions and nuance is part of the mastery process. Next is exercise. I've been revving my heart, getting sweaty at least 2 to 3 times a week. This one I really dove on the last week. I'm going to give myself a 5. Exercise was minimized. I did some, not nearly what I should be, for multiple reasons. One of them, I got this cold coming back from evacuation, and I'm real careful about my lungs and running if I have to speak, because a lot of times it'll inflame my throat, and then I have a huge amount of trouble speaking. I knew I had a ton of speaking to do this week, so I had to lay off that, and that's a huge part of my routine. So I hope that helps. Next up is breaks. I've been taking breaks every 90 minutes. That's been true for me. That's a 9. And we know the power of breaks. When you give your mind, your body a chance, even for 3 to 5 minutes, to just relax, it changes the way you feel about your day. We call this slowing time in the high performance world. So we just want to make sure that we're living in the best version of us, and these breaks are crucial. I was always jealous of this gal who was the right-hand girl to a really top producer in real estate. This was back in the 90s. And she would take cigarette breaks. And when she took cigarette breaks, she really concentrated. It was interesting to talk with her. She really concentrated on what she had done right in the last hour or two and what she was going to go in and do. And she was like living into a lot of the principles we teach in high performance, but she crushed it. That's why she was the right-hand girl to one of the top producers. So I don't recommend personally, or I don't do that, cigarette breaks. But if we consciously have breaks, very powerful for that. We'll go over this, which is something you can do in the break in just a little bit. Excited? Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this is really helping you. It's really important to me that in line of health, wealth, and happiness for you in your life, that you have a place to go at least once a month to check in on these things. And I'm walking these through for you, for me, just to illustrate the way that I'm thinking about how I'm going to handle up-leveling. A lot of people, just bringing awareness to this is huge. They're like, I never thought about these things. For others, they're on the track of mastery and they're dialing these things in. And these kinds of questions are going through their head every day. Does that all make sense? Awesome. Wish you the absolute best. Thanks so much for being here. Okay, so we have breaks dialed in. Next is happiness. I've been learning, creating, and sharing while being around people who generally uplift me. So how has that been going for you for the last week or month, depending on what your interval is? For me, this has been happening. I'm going to give this a 10 because I've been learning, creating, and sharing and just bombarded with it. I feel like Tarzan on the rope of purpose, kind of moving along. It's like I swing from this thing that's learning, creating, and sharing to dealing with this person who's generally uplifting or I'm helping them get there to this, to that, and then kind of swinging back and forth, which is really powerful. So I hope that helps. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Please don't feel bad if you're at like a 2 or a 1. You just have to recognize where you're at, be open and honest with it, and then think about what is it I could do in the next week to up-level that, just like we did up here in big areas. Cool? Okay. Next is finances. Have I been committed to auto savings is one part of it. And this one I'm going to give a 6 to, only because in the last week, I've had to buy a brand new air conditioning unit, entire whole house air conditioning, and a new car, a new used car. And this really took a hit because the way I work, just so you know, be open and honest, is I try to own the things that I buy versus do payment plans because I love to live in the lean. Lean recurring expenses is a big part of finances, which we'll talk about in more depth in my business mastery work, because more profit happens when you have less expense. It's just a little business tidbit for you. So just so you know, that's where I'm at. Will I recover? Absolutely. Am I working on it and have that in my mind of how that's going to rebuild? Totally. I'm there. But this week has been a hit to that whole endeavor. Next is presence. How present have I been with others and myself? And so for that, I'm going to give myself a 7, which is lower. I usually give myself an 8 or a 9, only because just I've fallen into that trap that so many of us do, where we have so much stuff on our mind, even though I have it all documented. It's overlaying into full presence with people I'm around. You follow? That's a big part of this, and that's something we need to think through. But with that being said, am I on it? Yes. I've actually set tomorrow morning, I'm going to be doing my journaling. I've set that as my reset point to go through and really handle alignment and presence. Cool? So whatever that is for you, write that in or document it and think about what is it that I could do. And I got to tell you, the part that most people report out that they have problems with are the people closest to them. Their significant other, their kids, their parents, their teamwork, team coworkers, those kind of things. So whatever that is for you, just think about it. And maybe per role, you could write down, with Bob at work, I got to be a little more present. Let me just take him out to lunch and put my phone in my pocket, turn on D&D, do not disturb, and just have that conversation. I hope that helps. It's really powerful. All right, next is purpose. Have I been living toward my life purpose? There's a little bit of overlap up here, and that is a 10, absolutely. And that took, just so you know, and I want you to know, this is years and years of getting masterful with what that is and then getting emotionally connected to it. So if you're not there yet, my job is to help you get there. That's what we're doing in our high performance coaching, is really moving through the questions and the strategies and the structure and the process to fully realize why you're on this planet, what your uniquenesses are that you can go out and serve. And even if you don't know what they are, we're working on that in our high performance group process, which is part of the community, which is awesome. So my purpose, totally dialed in, living into it. Even when I was in evacuation mode, wasn't fully doing everything that I wanted to do, but I was able to work at about 60% towards those endeavors. Finally, daily plan. Have I been in control of my daily agenda? And I'm going to give myself a 7 there. Kind of fell out of the practices, to be totally honest. I wasn't putting in every night what I need to do tomorrow. I was kind of sliding around. I felt myself just kind of in the last couple of weeks with the evacuation. My job this week has been to handle what I've got on my schedule, but then really get back in the practice of that, and I started to fire that back online as the week progressed. So that's keeping perspective, the first part of the work that I wanted to do today. If you have any questions and you're in the live cast, feel free to comment below. I'm going to go ahead and refresh right now and see if there's any questions there. And nothing there. Okay, cool. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the next part of our training today, and that is 3 ideas to feel more free. And very important that when I go over this for you, I want you to realize this has changed people's lives. Something fierce. You probably know by now I've coached hundreds of people in high performance, have like 3,100 sessions under my belt, Not to be braggadocious at all, but that you get the vibe of the world when you're coaching international people. The US, Australia, uh, let me think about that, Western Europe, India, all around the world. And it's interesting to hear this framework helps so many people live a more vibrant, more energetic, more courageous even life. And it's something I challenge you to do is in the next week, we're wrapping up the third quarter or the first three quarters of 2017, and we're going into what some people find to be very difficult, is the last quarter of the year. Here's why. There's a couple holidays in the United States. We have Thanksgiving, then we have Christmas or Hanukkah, whatever that is for you, and then we have New Year's. But usually there's a lot of time that's off, and that stuff is stumbling for reaching goals. So you got to remember, like in the United States, there's maybe 12 weeks left of the year when we hit October 1, but 3 of those weeks may be dedicated to vacation. So there's really 9 weeks. And if you're looking to do sales or those kind of things, we'll talk about this in Business Mastery, we got to be extra diligent about handling the responsibilities of that, because sometimes you have gift buying and families to serve, support, whatever that is in Thanksgiving. And we got to be very careful about all those things. So this framework will help us dial that in advance. And it's the number one thing that provides more clarity, less distraction and overwhelm for the people that I've served, and myself included, is this three-part framework. So the very first piece, 3 ideas of feel more free. First of all, ask yourself, what in life right now, as we go to close out September, do I need to clean up? Bring to closure. Stop. Pause. Delegate. Delete. Whatever that is for you. What is that? Think about that for a minute. What do you need to clean up? I got a list to clean up. And I'm like, tomorrow I'm biting at it. I can't wait to get in there and be like, here's the things I got to clean up so that I go into October on fire. Cool? So the first part is cleanup. This applies to every aspect of life. It could be in relationships. I know in this part of the year I haven't talked to my mom for a while. That's not my story, but I know people have said that. And I got to clean up that relationship a little bit. I know that literally I got to clean up my garage. I don't have a garage, but you get the idea. I know literally I need to clean up my workspace because there's papers and stacks of stuff. Just kind of bring some of that to closure or shred it or file it or whatever that would be. Does that help? Next area, settle up. Settle up. Set up, not settle up. What do I need to set up so that I can crush October, November, December? These could be simple things like reminders. Every week I need to call mom. Every week I need to spend an hour in the garage cleaning. Every week I need to check in on my desk. Devote 30 minutes to an hour to shredding, filing, handling what's there. A lot of people that I know, and I've been starting this practice, schedule literally a block of time Friday afternoon, usually from 3 o'clock to 5 or somewhere in there, to just catch up for the week. So they can go into the weekend feeling free and fresh. Hope that helps. These little distinctions are everything towards really owning life, feeling healthy, wealthy, and happy. You see how this all connects? Awesome. Okay, let's get into the final piece. This is the hard part, but it goes back to what we've been doing today. Level up. Where do I need to level up? This is a great connector for these two. Like, what is it that you have to clean up that you could have handled better as it came in? And so let me tell you about my story a little bit, and I hope this helps you, is that I noticed I was handling a lot of papers. But I would get the mail, for example, and I would just put it in a stack. Now, I leveled up in the last 10 years so that as soon as I get the mail, as I'm coming back with it, I sort out the stuff that I just don't need to look at, and it's shredded or thrown out, or recycled is what I do. And then the stuff that I do need to do, I either handle it then, or I put it in a small stack to handle in a time block I've dedicated, and these time blocks are scattered throughout the week to just handle what's on my desk. So generally speaking, my desk is very clean. And for me, I work much more efficiently. And it turns out a lot of high performers and just people in general do too. They work much more efficiently when they have a clean workspace. You follow? So think about from the perspective of what you had to clean up and what you're setting up. whether that's for the next week or the next quarter, to really owning this level up. Sometimes we think about it in the roles that we play in life. For example, with a lot of the people that I work with, they know they need to be better leaders, better team members. So they have to clean up some relationships. They have to set up a better way of being. What does that mean? It means when they walk through the door at work, they remind themselves of what we call in high performance a doorway trigger to really owning their mood and how they want to act and how they want to behave as they step in, and they've leveled up that part of their personality. To not kind of glide in habitually, just pop the door open and go sit down, but to really own their being as they go into that space. You follow? So if anything here is resonating for you, I'd like you to just, if you have your notes out, which I hope you do, is to just write down, what is it for me in the different roles of life that I really want to own? And let me walk through some of the life arenas as we teach them in high performance, so you can kind of spot these areas and maybe apply this to those areas. Cool? So the very first life arena is yourself. So we did a lot of work here over here. What areas here do we need to clean up? Sleep, hydration, eating, exercise. What do we need to set up in these areas that will really serve us, not only now, but for the long term? A lot of people, when they think about setup and eating, they do more meal prep. Or they get on that service, what is it, HelloFresh, Blue Apron, that delivers the food. So they don't have to go and source the food. They can just prepare it. And usually it's a 10 to 15 minute preparation. That's a setup piece, especially if they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants doing what they do. That all make sense? Let me take a look over here and see what we got going on there. Cool. I just want to make sure I stream it. We're going, doing our job, serving the world, rocking it out. Good stuff. Okay. So the setup piece. And then what do we need to do to level up? And that's a big part of that conversation about the fourth quarter of this year, is that the holidays can throw us off. So what we're trying to accomplish is to level up and say, you know what, I know the holidays can throw me off, and what I need to think through and do is really being proficient with preparing way in advance for Thanksgiving, preparing way in advance for Christmas. You know, one part that I'll tell you is that I'm still not the guy who buys stuff way in advance for Christmas Day for gifts. And that's my goal this quarter, is to own that. Literally next week I'm going to be starting my lists and getting stuff in way in advance so that it's not an overwhelming sensation as we go to the end of the year, because that drives me kind of nuts. I don't know if it does for you, but some people, they own that. You probably know people like that, or you might be that person. Other people are like, oh my gosh, Christmas just makes me stressed because I don't know what to get anybody. And so we start the conversation this week and next to be best prepared. But that might be a level up for your personality and a setup to really own the holidays. You follow? Does that making sense for you? I hope it is, and I hope you're enjoying this discussion, because it's all these pieces we're going to be keeping perspective on every session as we work through this. My goal for you as we do this, my dream for you, let me put it that way, is to see those numbers, whatever they're at now, go up even half a point every month. And maybe not all of them, but at least the ones that are important to you. Cool? Awesome. Thanks so much again for being here. All right, let's dive back in. I just want to make sure these 3 ideas you get about how they make you feel more free. And what does it mean to feel freedom, right? It's feeling less distracted, less overwhelmed, more focus, more, big part of this is the finances. People that I coach, they've always said and they don't say it like this necessarily always, but they want more personal freedom. And the way to get more personal freedom is through reduction of stuff, reduction of expenses, and keeping income at a level where we're living not paycheck to paycheck. We have a padding. For some, they have a big padding. They don't really have to work for a while. I'm blessed to be in that category at this point in my life, but that's a part that really helps people have that less stressful day-to-day life. And I have to tell you, the people that ask these 3 questions of themselves every night and every morning are the ones who have a better life experience, because they're able to say, going into tomorrow, what do I need to clean up for today? I just need to put a little more energy, even though I may be exhausted, to just clean it up today so tomorrow is a new day and I'm set up to really own it. all right, what do I need to set up for tomorrow? We'll talk a lot about this in session 5 in our group coaching, which is productivity and really owning how to handle our days from a very high performing perspective. And then what do I need to do to level up tomorrow? And I love the question that we ask, and this is something that Brendan Bouchard, the founder of High Performance Academy, is one of his daily questions. What could throw me off tomorrow? And how can I best be prepared for it? Or if you're doing that in the morning, kind of a level up question or a setup question, what is going to throw me off today and how can I be best prepared for that? So take a little bit of time here, bullet some stuff down for you. What are some areas of your life that you're like, you know what, I really need to own this piece. I really need to make sure I'm taking care of that. I really need to make sure I clean this up, set that up, level up here. And I'll give you an extra challenge. Think about why it's important to you. Why is it important to you to really own that? Whatever it is for you, because it's that why, that emotional fuel or catalyst that really propels the people that I've been blessed to coach. A lot of times you get into a habit or try a new habit and you're like, it's not a big deal. And it's generally because you haven't gone through and thought about why it's important for you to own it. Like describing sensorially, vibrantly, emotively, why that's important for you to really crush. So a lot of people, they'll get out their notes and they'll journal. Why is it important for me emotionally to really own this? Why is it important for me sensorially? Thoughts, feelings, taste, what I see, what I hear, what I feel, like touch versus emotional feelings. And sometimes what people have said as they've journaled is from the audio perspective of sensor experience, they want to hear words like, you're doing a great job from their lover or their boss or their team members. And then they use that as the emotional fuel. I want to hear words of affirmation that relate to me doing a good job here. And that becomes the emotional catalyst. A lot of people, their emotional fuel is when somebody tells them they can't do something. They're like, I'll show them, and that's the emotional catalyst. Well, that may not be there for you. So what is it for you that really fuels you for the cleanup, setup, level up piece? So I think we've covered this in entirety. If you have any questions, comment below, and I'll be happy to answer them and talk through them and make sure that you get the clarity you deserve. Next up, I want to go through and talk about the 4 steps to remove or reduce stress. And this has been battle tested with dozens of people that I've been blessed to serve over the last, since we introduced this concept, that would have been about 6 months ago, I believe, in high performance. And it's called WMEI. And it can be done in as little as 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes now that I think about it. But the recommended time is more like 6 to 10 minutes. Cool? So go ahead and get your notes out. Put W-M-E-I-. You ready? Take a drink, keep hydrated. Got to keep that fluid going. Okay, WMEI. Let me see if there's any questions real quick. Nope, looking good. All right. So WMEI, what does it stand for? How does it help reduce your stress? Here's the story. W, a walk. It's a simple 1 to 3 minute walk. Just get up, stand up. If you're feeling stressed, stand up, get up, whatever it is. And it's kind of the opposite of what our body wants us to do, right? You're like, I'm going to just plow through this and handle it. Nope. Just get up, walk, relax. So at my old office, we would take a walk around our building. Literally take a minute, maybe less. And as you're walking, breathe deep. Right? Breathe it out. Second, M, meditate. If you don't meditate or don't want to meditate, the M stands for music. Play 1 3-minute song that you know for you really levels you out. That just takes your mind away. So to illustrate for me, when I meditate, I use what we teach in high performance, the release meditation technique. And if you want, Brendan, the founder of High Performance Academy, our certified high performance master trainer, coach trainer, YouTube, release meditation with Brendan, or release meditate. I think that brings it up. and you'll be able, it takes like 30 minutes to teach it to you, and he does it with you, to really own the process. If that's too whatever for you, you don't think meditation works for you, that's cool. Music. What song could you have on cue or in a playlist, or a couple songs, that just level you out? So for me, anything from Frank Sinatra and anything from Lana Del Rey, two of those singers, whatever it is for me, I've tested this, really levels me out. Just takes my brain away. So just think about that. You're plowing through your days, a couple events hit, you're super stressed. Oh, what can I do right now? Just get rid of this. Boom. I know what I got to do. Take a walk. Even if it's just inside the office, take the walk. Second, meditate. Get into your seat, shut your eyes, and do release meditation, which goes like this. Release, 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 release. Usually not saying it out loud, but you can if you want to. Staying up here, even for just a minute or two. So far, 1 minute of walking, 1 minute of meditating or listening to music. Minimally, I say 3 each, because that really has been my sort of sweet spot for me. And then third is energize. E, energize. So what does it mean to energize? That means there's a couple things that we teach in high performance. One, we can breath scale. And that's for literally for 10 breaths, right? I guess it's 30 breaths. You scale up and down with the fierceness of your breath. If you've been to the Event High Performance Academy, that's something that we do. And it's a lot of sometimes boogers and spitter flying everywhere. Not to gross you out, but that can happen. And it goes like this, where you just, so you're in your nose, out your mouth. By the 15th breath, you're in maybe a stance like this, like that, and then toning it all the way down, crescendoing it down. That literally takes, I want to say it was like 30 to 60 seconds to do that exercise. But what it does is it rushes your body with oxygen and brings in a whole new level of vitality. Really, really powerful. If that's too much for you, just standing in place and bouncing. Just like this. There's something about the bouncing that ignites our body to get like energized. It's an interesting physiological thing. So that energizes 60 seconds. Could be 30, but 60. So a minute. Finally is intention. I is intention. And this is where we get mindful about how we're going to go back into our day. We're like, all right, my body's reset to a degree or completely. And now I got to go back into this. What's my intention as I go back into this? Literally just asking yourself, what's my intention with this next time block? We talked a little bit about that over here with our daily plan and breaks. This is a great break to give a try. Are you up for that challenge? If you are, the next, go in your phone, let's just do it this way. Go in your phone and schedule a break for a part of your day next week that you know you typically feel stressed. A lot of people, that's usually around the 2 or 3 o'clock hour, because they see a dip in energy and they know they got to work. They got 2 more hours or an hour left. That's a big part. So schedule and just put WMEI that shows up as an alarm label at that time and just give it a try. I'd love for you to do it and report back to me to see what happens for you when you do it. Let me kind of review those one more time. We have W, which is walk. M is meditate or music. And E is energize. And I is intention. That's it. 4 steps to reduce or remove stress. If it seems like that doesn't work, I have to tell you, everybody that I challenged to do it that has done it has reported it has worked. Not that it's removed it completely per se, but it's definitely down-ticked. Something about this combo that really helps people own that process. Cool? All right. So let's spend a little bit of time now kind of recapping. I'm going to go over here, see if there's any questions that came up, make sure that I'm taking care of the audience. And nothing's coming up. Good deal. So let's kind of recap what we've covered today to kind of bring it all together for you. Cool? All right, here we go. We have keeping perspective. There's the 7 key areas of life to keep perspective with. We have the 10 needle movers, the 10 areas that have helped so many people, including myself, that's how I designed them, to dial in their feeling, their energy, their ability to serve, their ability to just feel less distressed, less overwhelmed, all these kind of things, and feel happier and healthier and even wealthier. And then we have a few ideas that we can apply into these areas. See, my goal for you is to say, for each of these areas, this is a heavy journaling job, just so you know I've done it. Clean up, set up, level up for each of these areas. Now, what is that? The 7 times 10, or plus 10, 17 areas. If you want to break this down to make it easier for you, one area a week. Just take one area a week, put it in your journal, and say, all right, for the now life area, what do I need to clean up, set up, level up? And I'm going to try that this upcoming week to feel like you're moving towards where you want to be in your life right now. Cool? Another example, clean up, set up, level up, sleep. What do I need to do to clean up? A lot of people that I've worked with, they report they need to get a better routine at night to shut themselves down. So some of them set alarm for 9 p.m. that says, digital devices away, get a book. And from 9 to 9:30, they read the book. From 9:30 to 9:45, brush your teeth, do everything else. From 9:45 to 10, they literally meditate, laying in bed, like, just release. I do that as a mechanism to get me to go to sleep fast. I usually go to sleep, like, head to pillow to sleep within 5 to 10 minutes. If I do that, as long as, this is a big part to this, I didn't load my body with sugar or caffeine in the last few hours. Interesting side effect of that, right? Kind of know that from the science and what people have been reporting out. So this framework applies into this. And I just want to make sure you got the connection there, because it's gold when you think through that. And I hope this helps you. And I challenge you to share this with somebody you love too, because this is a game changer for relationships. A little more rest, a little more intention, and boom, the relationship goes back to another level, or up to another level. So for a lot of people that I've served, they've seen their relationship dive with their significant other the last decade or 5 years or whatever that is. This kind of stuff, doing this as a group, even as a family, really empowers them to live up to that. Cool? Then we went over these 4 steps. And my goal with our monthly mastery trainings is to give you just tips that are known needle movers for helping you handle the day-to-day things that come up for us all. But just to own them. And people are looking at you like, how do you handle this? Why do you still have a smile on your face after all this stuff just happened? Because there's this idea that, you know what, it's going to happen. That's part of life. Honor the struggle, as we say in high performance. It's going to bring the joy, or be able to handle it from a better version of myself. Cool? All right. Next up is hints, tips, and tricks. So with that, what I wanted to make sure of is that you have a few very intense tactics that are known to work for me and others that have been very powerful towards helping people feel higher levels of health, wealth, and happiness. So the very first thing, I like to share food tricks. And one food trick, and I got to thank my brother for this, back at our family vacation in June, all of a sudden, he was in the kitchen and he made toasted some bread, and then he put avocado on it, and then put little red pepper specks on it. And it was amazing. Now, here's the thing we know. Avocado is a great brain food, but it also is very filling. And you probably have seen there's a huge surge of avocado usage, especially in the United States, as people are really owning this as a way to get around some of the other things. Like, for me, the old school equivalent of how I'd feel that sensation of full was peanut butter. And it wasn't the good kind. Like, it was non-organic. It was just loaded with all kinds of stuff. And so switching to that. So I do have a picture on Instagram of this, but it's toast with avocado on the toast. And you kind of eat it like toast with jam on it. And you do that, or as a sandwich if you want to. Now, I use this good seed bread. And what I'll do is I'll make sure in our program to link to the bread that I love, because it's got a lot of brain, like omega-3s and some great seeds in it that really help the body. And it's high in fiber too. So this has been a really helpful thing for me and a lot of people that I've worked with, to just use this as a food source. Now, this does require some prep, or you can get guacamole at a store or something like that, or avocado, squished up avocado, and then put it on bread for lunch, something like that. But it's a great snack, and it's also a very great lunch if you have 2 of those, for me, because I'm a little bigger. That all makes sense? I hope this serves you. If you don't like avocado, there's a lot of other options, but this has really worked for me and a lot of people that I've served. That, my current favorite health snack. And I have it wherever I can get it, or we make it. Awesome. Second, the tech. This is where I really want to give you an app that I found to be very beneficial for me and a lot of people that I've served. The app is called Think Up. And what it does is it's built on the idea of affirmations and it lets you record your voice so that you can hear yourself through headphones, through holding your phone up, playing it through your car or wherever it is. Talk through affirmations. And at first I didn't believe in the power of that until I challenged a few of my coaching students to do that work and really own that process. Of instead of writing down, these are the things that I now believe about myself, they actually speak them out. One of them videoed themselves saying it and plays the video of themselves saying it, especially when they're feeling really low or neutral. Let me kind of frame that for you. They had a limiting belief that said, I'm not worthy of putting my message into the world. And at one point, they were really emotionally high about it because they got a lot of feedback from them doing it. And they said, from that place of really high pumped up confidence and competence, they said, and I'll just use my name, Charly, remember this very moment where I went through and I owned it, and these people, and they said the names of the people, said these things and said the name of the things. Always remember, you've got this. Your message is worthy. Go out there and crush it. You've got it. Go. And they recorded that, and then when they were low, they played that, and it brought them back to that moment. It's kind of like this. If you ever look at old photographs of you somewhere, usually your mind takes you back to that place, and it imprints it in your psychology. Does that all make sense? Hope that does. There's a lot of power here. Power of psychology, the power of hearing yourself speak, which is very powerful. It's another aspect of journaling to see what you've written, keep the thoughts out and onto paper. It's very beneficial towards growth along health, wealth, and happiness. So Think Up is the name of the app. It's in the App Store on the Apple. I didn't check on Android. They probably have a version for Android, but I hope that serves. The last thing I wanted to handle, because we had evacuation, let me write in Think Up here, is the idea of how to best prep for travel, hunger, hydration, and health. And literally, this is a mindset trick, but I always have a backpack with me when I'm traveling. So I have these RX bars. Brendan Burchard, I was with him in May at our mastermind, and he said, Charly, these things burn clean. Don't give me bloat, gas, all these other things. And they're called RX bars, and you get them at on Amazon, but you can also get them at Whole Foods, and I think they're in a couple other stores that I've been in. Usually health related, sometimes not. But these RX bars, I always have a few in my backpack. And I make it a point, and I gotta be honest, I missed it on the way out of Florida, but I quickly corrected to have bottles of water around me as I was driving. So I literally down in the pocket in the car, I looked down and I was like, yeah, I really need a bottle of water, a backup bottle here, and I need one here. So I'm always having that, and if I run out of both, two things happen. I usually have to go to the bathroom, or two, it's time to refill. So usually that's stop at the gas station, grab some more bottle of water, and just keep the hydration. Because that trip going was 12 hours. And I can tell you, a lot of people, they forget the hydration. 12 hours without or minimal hydration is not good. Especially, and this is a side note for you, as you travel in a car. We were traveling through a lot of pollen and so forth, and it was coming into the car. And I have allergies, and some of the people I was with do too. And hydration helps flush that out. So you kind of set yourself up for a double whammy in some instances where you're not hydrating and your body is not able to flush stuff out, and you're in the traveling sensation. Does that all connect? So my challenge for you is this. Thinking through everything I've said, what are 1, 2, or 3 snacks that you can always have with you? For some, this has meant them not driving through a drive-thru and making bad decisions. This has meant, I know I got my almonds. They have these little packs at Whole Foods, and I've seen them around at other places, of just like a pouch size of almonds. You can buy them in a 10 or 20 pack, and then just having those and popping those versus a Twix or a Kit Kat or whatever that would be, right? So I hope these little tips, tricks, techniques help. Really, really powerful for the big picture. So with that, we've got a couple minutes left. I'm going to see if there's any questions. If there isn't, I've got a couple that people have asked previously that I'll hit on. And then we'll wrap up this month's training, and I hope it served. Oh, thank you, Jessica. So WME Reminders, love the idea. Thank you, Charly. You're so welcome, Jessica. Thanks so much for joining us today. And again, this will be in our recorded members area so that you have that to reflect on, to hear, and to go. You'll notice when I'm doing the trainings that I have different segments. This is the perspective keeping segment. These are new ideas to help you, and these are hints and tips that are like tactical shifts. And I really thought a lot about this. I've tested this over the years to make sure that we keep perspective. That's part of the ongoing mastery of all this. But then we're able to just bring in new ideas or remind ourselves of existing ideas if you heard them before. And then also just little things that can help you day to day or throughout your day too. So the big question that I got this week, I'm going to cover this in more detail in our next business mastery, which starts in about an hour, is how do you handle destruction, like devastation, and talk about that. Like, how do you handle that emotionally? And I just kind of walk through this because here's the mindset for evacuating for a hurricane. And a lot of you, that you may not be in an you may have not even had part of that, just saw it on the news, but that's cool. But this is the idea of how to handle things and how I did. First of all, I made a couple of points a long time ago. One of them was in 2006, you may have heard this story, I got rid of 90% of my things. And for me, and a lot of other people, it's called minimalism. That's one of the terms. Essentialism, I think, is another term. That really helps you understand what it is that you value the most. Going through that exercise, by the way, is like, do I value this? There's a great book, The Art of Tidying Up. I think that's what it's called, or The Magic Something Mindset of Tidying Up. Tidying Up's in the title. I'll make sure I link for it below. But the idea is that you reduce the things you have so that maybe only the things that you enjoy seeing or that you need, like a bed and so on, are part of your existence. But you don't have all this extra stuff. Because with all the extra stuff, a lot of people are getting thrown sideways. That this devastation, if they chose to stay, they are staying to be with their stuff. Luckily, we didn't get the surge we were supposed to, because their stuff would have been underwater. 10 to 15 foot surge in the areas that we live. If they're at ground level, even if they're pumped up a little bit, 15-foot surge usually means part of your entire home's underwater, just so you have a framing. So that stuff doesn't matter. So for me, I thought about that a long time ago. 2006, I did it not only for reasons of like evacuation, but I did it mainly for the reason of I just wanted to live a simple existence and a life built on experience, not stuff. Does that make sense? So the first part to this, to deal with devastation and so on, is to realize what's important. Realize, these are the things that are important. When it comes down for me, the safety of my girls, my wife, and my cat, Mr. Kitty, or as my bro calls him, Kitty Boy Millionaire. So, and he's just a laid-back dude. He's just chill, man. He's just like, put me in the box, let's just go. And that's who he is. That's his personality. Love that guy. And so that's it. And then there was papers that were important, photos that are important, but those are all digital. So I have the drive. I literally had my backpack with a little extra weight in it because I had a drive in it, that all the important photos and my important papers. And we were out. And in my brain, I was thinking, you know what? If the building that I'm in a high rise, my home studio is in a high rise. If it gets washed out, I know what I have in there. I will go through and rebuy what's necessary and survive, but I don't have to buy a lot because I don't have a lot of stuff. So that's the big part of that. The other part is to be real with the emotions of devastation. Now I had to do this as we saw the hurricane coming through our area when we were up in Atlanta. Is like, okay, how am I going to be if the places where the people, it's really hurt to think this through, the people that I love, serve, and care for didn't make it because that storm surge, and I knew a lot of people that decided to stay, and a lot of people were freaking out when they saw the water level coming up, and they were wishing they had left. So as hard as that emotion was to go after, I got real with it. And it was a tricky endeavor, and I had a journal for a while and think it through. What am I going to do if people that I love, serve, and care for don't make it? Well, luckily for me, I've been through that before, having somebody close to you pass. And that's sort of, I can't really explain it, but that's a huge part to being able to deal with it better. It's just got to be real with the emotions and so forth. I don't have a lot of time to go into detail there, but that's the concept. So I had to be real with that. And then what's my plan once we get back? What is it that I need to do to set up, going right back to this, to clean up, set up, and level up to just get back on track quick? And luckily, it was pretty much a power, internet, air conditioning issue coming back into getting back to work right away. And our air conditioner got knocked out, so I had to handle that earlier in the week. But that was cool. I just whatever shows up on my handle, that comes back to the high performance principles, bringing the joy, and believing in my ability to figure things out. So with all that being said, we're at the end of our monthly mastery session. I hope that last part helped a little bit. Just wanted to make sure we got some clarity there and really helped you own that. We can talk more about that in our monthly roundtable. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wish you the absolute best to live a healthy, wealthy, happy life and realize these areas, these ideas, these hints and tips are all fuel for you to really own your life and your business if you have one. So with that being said, you know I'm here to help you live purposefully, passionately, positively, productively, talk a lot about that here, and profitably. So I wish you the best. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.